So, what makes me cranky about Avengers Infinity War? That I don't know how to review this movie without somehow ruining it for you. I mean, this is a movie with 10 years of hype behind it, so even if all I tell you is that it's good, it could be that last little bit of hype that makes it impossible for the movie to live up to your expectations. Worse still, so many of the things that work in this movie work precisely because they're unexpected. Unlike with Rian Johnson just subverting everything all the time in The Last Jedi such that you know nothing matters, the Russo brothers make it a point to try and genuinely surprise the audience with things they wouldn't expect, but that still fit right into the universe as it has been up until now. That makes it really difficult to talk about a movie like this, even in extremely general terms without giving something away that could potentially spoil one of those moments for you. While I don't normally watch other reviews before I do mine, I did take a trip around the web just to see how everyone was approaching this problem, and sadly I saw a lot of things that I would have been a little upset to know before seeing the movie. So even though I'm still going to tap dance around spoilers as much as I can, I'll give you the conclusion right here so you have the option to get out while you can. If you're a Marvel fan, it is absolutely worth the full price ticket, and you need to stay the hell off the internet until you can get to the theater. Okay, still want to know more? Great. Let's talk about the two biggest questions I think we all had about this movie. Number one, how are they going to juggle this many characters? And number two, could they deliver a villain worthy of years of post-credits stingers? And the answers are, as well as can be expected, and yeah, they could. Succeeding in either regard would have made Infinity War a remarkable achievement. Managing to do both is nothing short of extraordinary. It's almost unbelievable to me that Infinity War is not a jumbled mess. And if the Oscars still meant anything, I'd say that the Russo brothers and the scriptwriters Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely should get Oscars just for pulling this off. I don't think it would be the best picture, but writing a screenplay that makes all of this work and directing this many different characters successfully deserves some kind of award. Now, the only reason this movie works at all is because we already have 10 years of character development for all these people. It's the first movie I can think of that simply cannot be taken on its own, because on its own it's just a chaotic mishmash of random characters you don't know, trading quips about things you never saw while doing things you have no reason to know they could do. So this, way more than Avengers or Ultron or even Civil War, relies on you having seen those other movies. If you haven't, there just isn't enough screen time to teach you about all these people or even make any one of them feel important. They each get moments, some more than others, but there are just so many of them that it's simply impossible to do much other than have them reacting to the events of the film. This makes the first third or so of the movie a little uneven, because it's trying to cover an enormous amount of territory in a really short period of time. It's got to get some kind of exposition down, introduce our various subgroups of heroes to each other, start the main narrative, and still find room for some exciting action sequences and good jokes. It's almost overwhelming how much you have to absorb during that breakneck intro. And I can see some people deciding that this movie isn't good just because they find it to be too much. Especially since it can get a little confusing at times, but mostly I think that's just because Marvel has a knack for making you laugh hard enough that you're still laughing as other dialogue is being delivered. Think of how easy it was to miss Hulk's puny god remark in the first Avengers flick because everyone was too busy cracking up from Hulk unexpectedly thrashing Loki. That kind of thing happens quite a few times in Infinity War. And I know people like to bag on Marvel for all the jokes, but they've always had a pretty good sense of how and when to use humor properly. Infinity War actually strikes a very impressive balance between humor and drama. Even though it might seem like they're undercutting some moments, especially at the beginning with the gags, when it comes time to get serious, it gets very serious. And that's where Thanos comes in. First off, unlike Steppenwolf from Justice League, the CGI Thanos actually does hold up most of the time, which was the first hurdle he had to get over. I still think a practical effect with makeup and such would have been more convincing, but generally speaking, they managed to create a very expressive and more or less realistic-looking purple alien guy. More importantly, though, he's not just some goofy effect that pops in to start a fight and leave. He's effectively the main character here, which is a genius decision on the part of the Russos, not just because it makes him a better villain, but also because it allows them to completely sidestep trying to play favorites with the existing heroes. They didn't have to decide whether this movie was going to be an Iron Man movie with the Guardians in it, or a Guardians movie with Captain America in it, or something like that. It's Thanos' movie, with everybody else in it. So he gets more time than anybody, and it does wonders for him as a villain. It means he's a fully fleshed out character, rather than just your generic evil alien guy here to destroy the world, because that's what giant purple CGI monster guys do. And we learn right away that unlike most Marvel villains, he is in fact dangerous. That was perhaps the biggest hurdle of them all. For so long, our heroes have survived with little more than scratches that it was getting pretty difficult to feel like they were ever in any real danger. This movie gets legitimately tense, because the Russos have already shown you, to borrow a phrase, this isn't going to go how you think. On the technical, general movie-making side of things, like I said, the CGI mostly holds up. There will always be some uncanny valley moments with this much CGI stuff, but it doesn't distract much from the movie. The action, for the most part, is clear, easy to follow, and fun to watch. As I said, Marvel's brand of humor is on point as always, and it's definitely a treat to watch characters we haven't seen together before interact with each other. All of these actors continue to be great, so no worries there. And finally, Alan Silvestri's score did its job to sell the moments that needed selling. So other than nitpicking, everything works on that level. As far as ranking it within the existing list of Marvel movies, it's definitely at the top end, but I'd say Winter Soldier is still Marvel's best movie. If only for the fact that you can watch that movie and still enjoy it if you don't know much about the Marvel Universe. As I said, this movie just does not work on its own as its own individual thing, but that's okay, because it's not supposed to. So that's all I think I can say about Infinity War without anything resembling a spoiler. I walked out of the theater ready to see it again, which is certainly something I didn't expect, so I'm happy to recommend a full-price ticket. 10 years of Marvel movies should have taught you by now to wait for the post-credit stinger, and this one actually is worth sitting through all the names of the effects guys to get to it, so go ahead and do that. It's just a truly remarkable feat of filmmaking. Bravo to everyone who worked on this thing, and especially the Russos for managing not to make a complete mess here. That's what I thought about Avengers Infinity War anyway. Let me know what you think in the comments, but please try not to spoil it for anyone else as you do. And not only does Thanos demand your silence, he also strongly suggests you hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed the review, and to subscribe to the channel for more in the future.